let's get. Do you have a terry cloth on you for your glasses?
I have a handkerchief.
You have a handkerchief? Yeah, that'd be awesome. It's an old lens. We're cleaning it up a little bit. All right. Perfect. I'm going to go share this real quick. On social media. It can still see us and everything. So live right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Don't be offensive. It's all good. It's just a live stream. So we were talking about D&D, and let me introduce my guest today. I am Duke of D&D, and then this is my Padre. His name is Padre.
Some people call me Grandpa.
Some people call him Grandpa. My little girl calls him Grandpa. Well, she will. Right now, she just kind of and noises at him. So, perfect. So post that. Awesome. Welcome, everybody. I can't see if we have anybody. Okay, so we were talking about D&D, and Pops was actually Padre. I said it wrong.
Pops works.
I'm so terrible. It's okay. Dad, Padre. Started with D&D. What edition?
It was advanced 1978.
So
in the other century that a lot of you haven't heard of before.
So that was equivalent to D&D 1.2 or 1.5?
Well, so it would have been D&D Advanced Dungeons and Dragons was D&D 1.
D&D 1.
Yeah, so they had the Hawk that was before that, which was pre-D&D, the prequel, and then they have Advanced Dungeons and Dragons with the I still have my original player's handbook and Dungeon Master's Guide and Monster Manual. We've got it all. And then kind of a D&D Plus was when they released Unearthed Arcana about 5 or 6 years later. And then it was cool. We actually could have barbarians, and we could have other classes that didn't exist too much. And so it was it's been kind of cool all the way around. But yeah, and then they went out and got to 2.0 and 3.5 and 4.5, and I kind of ignored most of those. Just playing Advanced Dungeons and Dragons when I bother playing it. And then Edition 5 came out, and they took care of a whole bunch of the problems that were there with all the convoluted rules. You make it too cumbersome, and then it just doesn't work worth a hoot. And then with Edition 5, they've rolled back to some of the basic things. They've simplified some stuff. Used to be I'd have to find the tables to resolve combat, because everything had a table. Saving throws had their own tables. Combat, you had to look up what virtually level of the monster was, how many hit die a monster was where it was on its table. You had what level the characters were for each of their individual classes and where they fell on the table. Now you've got your additions and subtractions for your 2-hit modifiers. They've flipped. They've inverted the
armor
class from being a negative. The more negative armor class it was, the harder you were to hit. Now, the more positive it is, the harder you are to hit. And so you don't have any tables. It's whatever the armor class is and whatever the attack roll is, it's a hit or a miss.
It's simple. It's a lot more straightforward. There's not looking up or anything for it now.
Saving throws, it's going to be a difficult, medium, or a hard saving type throw.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets a number assigned to it, and somebody rolls, they add their bonuses, and then they either make their saving throw or they don't. They don't have to look up at a savings throw table too. So
yeah, with the DCs, because DC didn't even exist at all in edition 1 that I'm aware of. It was all on the tables of, yes, it's going to be a easy, medium, hard, extreme, impossible. And they have those tables actually in the Dungeons Master Guide for DCs now, though. So it doesn't have the specific items. It's just, this is what the DC is now on how hard you want that challenge to be.
Which is the difficulty level.
Yes, yes. The difficulty of the check. And so we were also talking about the differences between savings throws and checks.
Yeah.
And how you'll get certain bonuses and certain checks depending on your class and sometimes race, but mostly class for your checks, like acrobatics, athletics, things like that. You'll also get your strength, dexterity modifiers for just however you rolled them. And then the savings throw, you get more advantages on that because of your race and things like that.
Race and class.
Yeah.
Because your class, you have, whatever class you are, you have proficiencies. Now, what's nice is if you dual class, you actually, if you have differences in what those classes have, you actually can get a wider range of saving throw bonuses for your proficiency. Mm-hmm. And they've actually made the proficiencies for multi-class characters be your combined total level versus just whatever you have for each individual level. So they've smoothed that out again, because in all reality, you're a level 5 warrior and a level 13 wizard, you're a level 18 character. Mm-hmm. And instead of having 2 separate progressions for each class, it makes sense that a character building on experience that where they've already been through so many levels, starting over back at level 1, you've got these other skills you're able to pull from now, where in edition 1, if you multi-classed, you actually started over in that class and you could not use any of the other class's skills until you exceeded the experience in a new class. So it was kind of punishing. And I've actually done that with some of the characters that I've had, translating them to edition 5 and trying to keep the truth of what the character was. Had some challenges, but if you built a persona around a character and you want to try and keep that, you want to keep the same skills that you had, and so had to figure out how we work that with the new rules. Had to change some things, because there was some things with some of the 0.5 and 2.0 and some of the other things that came in and developed into that character as they went through, like weapon specialization and things like that. And if you've been used to having 2 attacks per round because you specialized in weapons, you don't necessarily want to give that up. You want to figure out how you can keep it, because I've moved to a new system, so now I can't attack twice, and I've been doing it for 20 years. So how does that work? Anyway, yeah, you can do the math all the way back to 1978. It's 2020 now, so by my reckoning, that's about 42 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a few.
How did you find out about D&D?
So it actually was I hang out with some of the nerds when I was in high school, and that's what they did on the weekends. Got this little box of starter Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and there's a real life phone call.
Yep. So he's going to take that, and I'll go ahead and talk more.
Excuse me.
And with that, we've got Sid on the back. So now my new guest is Sid, my cat. His full name's actually Obsidian, but we call him Sid. A few of the things that we were talking about is how character building has been changed as well. So it's a lot more different, It's I it's been a weird morning, so sorry, excuse me. And how miniatures and the gameplay has changed a lot. Originally, it was just graph paper. Everything was done on notebooks, and now we have these. We have these character sheets. We have the spell sheets. We have cards and stuff for spells that explain them that are being made by the deck of many things. Not sponsored, by the way. I've just heard a lot about them and wanting to look into them. And miniatures. So, talking a little bit about miniatures and how that kind of goes. Um, Miniatures can be quite pricey. And so, one thing I like to do is I like actually to use Legos. I'm a huge Lego fan. Obviously, you can see, there's some Legos and stuff in the background. I got little mechs and Star Wars and things like that. But just a couple of miniatures that I enjoyed. If you wanted to do like a human or even a half orc fighter right here, this was part of one of the minis, the minifigure sets. It was not a minifigure set, but the series. And so it's a nice knight with a morning star. Excuse me, that's a mace, straight up mace.
Yep.
Morning star has a chain, so it would have been hanging. And shield and some armor. And then also, if you want to do all kinds of more exotic things, there's a lot of variety now. For instance, in one of the Avengers, not Endgame, Infinity War sets. I guess it is an Infinity and Endgame too, but dark elf, a drow lady that you can totally use, things like that. So there's just a lot. Or if you wanted to do like an older wizard, this dude's from a Star Wars set, things like that. So I mean, there's all kinds of things, and you can mix and match pieces and customize them. I love Lego, doing Legos for it. He doesn't. He has a 3D printer. He likes to make actual minis and paint them and things like that. But I do Legos because I like to, and I like Legos, so that's what I do. But
I was painting some miniatures yesterday. Matter of fact, I painted a couple of dwarven brothers. One of them's a monk, and the other one's a barbarian. So, yeah, got them painted up, and painted a human wizard warlock kind of a guy. So, yeah, that's what I was doing yesterday.
nice. Definitely enjoy miniatures. I like Legos for the landscapes too, because then you can actually build like a battlefield and stuff. But it takes a lot of time, and so it's a little strenuous.
I've 3D printed him some plants and stuff to customize some of his Lego scenery. So there's all kinds of stuff you can do with a 3D printer. That, as a matter of fact, if you get good with Tinkercad or some kind of AutoCAD modeling software, you can build your own characters, minis, landscapes, and you can bust that out. And of course, you can always go and just use regular modeling skills, and you can make terrains, you can make buildings, you can make the ruins. There's a little bit of paint and some either some foam or some plastic stock. With some people actually go ahead and make stuff out of plaster of Paris and paint it and seal it. And there's all kinds of composite foams that are available now that are semi-rigid and actually durable. Where if you're going to be using them with landscapes and models, it kind of works pretty cool. And it's also scalable. You can the Legos tend to run a little bit larger than the traditional miniatures, so I've even printed some posable action figures that would work for some of those. You have one handy?
I do. I have this. So this was one that he had made because we had a Goliath player, or maybe it was a giant. So he actually has, he can move his feet and his arms, and things like that. So he is posable, but he also has like a little Lego head, so a Lego kind of samurai helmet on him there, and so that was 3D printed as well.
And so yeah, scalable, customizable, kind of cool.
So now let's talk a little bit about characters and ideas. You've always fancied playing a human, right?
Well, when Dungeons and Dragons first came out, humans were the unlimited class. They were unlimited in everything. Ultimately, thieves and assassins, they'd ultimately end up with a point where they couldn't advance anymore without being the top dog. They had to be the guild master for the thieves, and there was only one that was ever going to be that, and so you had to defeat the guild master in order to be able to do that. But otherwise, the classes were unlimited. Then you get to a certain level, and you can keep going up. There were limits on how high of a level the spells were, so pretty much the effective level was whatever your spell levels were times 2 would be when you've got, you got to the max what there were, and you could add more spells to that later. Also, a cool thing was you got extra levels of spells every time whenever you got to a certain level. If you had a higher wisdom and you were a cleric, man, you were a healing boss. You'd get, if you had an 18 wisdom, you'd get like 4 extra first level spells, and when you got to second level, you get like 2 or 3 extra second level spells and 1 or 2 third level spells. You just were a boss. As soon as you got those to those levels, you were able to get extra spells.
Just want to mention this. How many spells does a wizard start out with in D&D Advanced?
The Advanced D&D, when they started out, they had like 1 spell, and there was no such thing as cantrips. So when you were there as your wizard, you got to go and
throw some darts.
You could stab somebody with a dagger, but then you were close enough to where they could poke you through your robes, and you were armor class 10, which in either way, armor class 10 is nothing unless you had a real super dexterity. Then woohoo, you could be armor class 6 instead of armor class 10. But now it's reversed, so you'd be armor class 14. But yeah, being nimble dodger kind of a guy. But yeah, with multi-classing and with some of the other stuff that came in, the people that were really the boss were the multi-class elves, because the elves, they could walk around in armor and cast spells, and they could and they'd have their hit points, and they'd go up in their individual classes that they were working on as they went up. Now the field's been leveled. Humans get a huge advantage now because it used to be that the stats, humans were the benchmark, and so what you rolled is what you had, and humans were the normal benchmark. And then if you were a dwarf, then you'd get a bonus in strength or constitution, I forget, and they made really good warriors. If you were an elf, you'd get advantage in charisma and dexterity. If you were a hobbit or a halfling, they had to change that to halfling because the Tolkien people figured J.R. Tolkien owned the term hobbit, which was his word for halfling. And so if you're a halfling class, then you'd have to do the race. You'd have to get you'd get a bonus in being extra sneaky and stealth, and get some bonuses for some savings throws. So there's some good stuff. But humans were the benchmark. Now, with humans being the benchmark again, you end up getting +1 in every stat. And so there's advantages for being a human. There's a disadvantage for being a human. You don't see in the dark. almost every other class sees in the dark.
Race. Almost every
Race.
other
Race. I'm sorry. Every once in a while, because of the gray hair, I end up picking words out of the air, and they're not the words that I meant.
Right. It's all good.
Which is why there's a D&D and a referee, because they can determine what was really meant. It sounded like you said this. What did I say?
You said a D&D, I think.
I did it again.
So
So that's why we have an administrator for the live stream, so that he can tell you what I mean.
So welcome, whomever is watching. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to join the chat and ask. We have an expert on D&D Advanced, the first ever D&D that came out before I was even born. And so he's been playing for 42 years, 43 years. Give or take. I've been playing since I was 6, so many years. I'm not going to give away my age because I don't want to do that just yet. And we actually started playing with Edition 1. When I first started as a little 6-year-old, I was a dwarf berserker, and the barbarian class, it had already come out at that point. Yeah, but it was kind of Unearthed Arcana 2,
and we were using that.
Yeah, to the original things, which Unearthed Arcana, actually still has stuff that they're releasing today. They release online every week, and there are new barbarian and I know there was a new barbarian class. Do you want to take a look at those?
I'll look at them later.
Oh, I was saying we can do it now, but that's all right. Anyway, it's pretty cool because it's more of a like a lycanthrope class for the barbarian. So as part of your rage, you can actually turn into a bear or a werewolf.
Well, actually, that's in the basic rules that they have that totem path that you can find, and they have the wolf or the eagle or the bear, and they actually have that instead of taking the frenzy path in the primary thing. They just might have fleshed it out more in Unearthed Arcana.
They did. So and where like you actually physically turn into a werebear. Yeah.
Well,
so it's kind of crazy.
But whatever works.
It's different from like druid shifting where the druids actually change. But it's still cool because you get extra strength bonuses and things in multi-attacks and stuff like that. Anyway, I want to take up too much of your time.
So we have been chatting a little bit. It's always exciting to talk about your hobbies and interests. And if you haven't done it yet, feel free to like and subscribe, and leave any comments down below.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for watching. We will be doing war live streams on Saturdays probably, but eventually it's going to be actually playing D&D, so it's going to be a group rather than just us shooting the breeze. But yeah, if you enjoyed this, make sure you like, subscribe, do what he said. So thanks, guys.
Have a terrific day and be safe out there.
Wear your seatbelt, kids.